I'm titling this video, All Christians Are Catholics. Now, I have a reason for doing this video, and my motivation for doing so I will reveal at the end of this video. When you discuss the church in general, when someone says the church, usually people are going to think Catholic. And there's a reason for that. Protestants who believe that they've somehow separated themselves from the Catholic Church, you haven't. You haven't. If you continue to abide by the authority of the Pope and by the powers of the Catholic Church, whether they be the powers that exist today or whether they be the powers that existed years ago, then you are, therefore, Catholic. If I abide by, let's say, bowing down towards Mecca six times a day, what am I? I'm a Muslim. I could call myself a Christian, but I'm a Muslim. Now, I have a lot of references here. And these references I'm going to be giving you in the box down there on the bottom. So, don't argue with me as though I'm just coming up with these things from nowhere. Everything that I'm going to be talking about outside of the Bible verses that I'll be reading at the very end is historical fact. It's historical fact. And I will be giving you the references so that you can look them up yourself. So if you want to discuss these things with me, first of all, be civil. First of all, be civil. This video is going to be both on my channel and on Lucifera's for a reason. Because she and I are working together with this. We are partners in this. So that you understand, all of you out there, this interest that we have is one of a spiritual interest. And she and I do this work for spiritual reasons. We are light bearers, and we are bearing light into the darkness of Christianity. This is our number one intention on this planet. This is what she and I do. We are condemned for it, as we expect to be. But understand this. We are only trying to get you to see the light. We are not hating on you. We are trying to get you to see the truth. Now, as far as the references that I just mentioned, first of all, I'd like to talk about this, since it is the season. First of all, I'd like to talk about Christmas. Okay? It's in the name, folks. It is in the name of the holiday, Christ Mass. It is a Catholic holy day. It was not celebrated by the Protestants until the middle of the 19th century. That is historical fact. Okay? Fact. Not my opinion. Fact. As I said, I'm going to back all this up with the references. All you have to do is scroll down and look at them for yourself. Now, what is Christmas? Christ Mass. Well, originally, Christmas was a pagan holiday called Saturnalia, as in the celebration of Saturn. Saturn being Satan, folks. This is occult 101 knowledge, that Saturn is associated with Satan. You folks, you condemn us and tell us that we're in the dark. All you have to do is open up your eyes and open up your ears and listen. Saturnalias. Now, what was Saturnalia? A week-long celebration of lawlessness from December 17th to the 25th. During this time, the Roman courts were closed. This was a Roman holiday. Like Roman Catholic Church. Law dictated that no one during this time could be punished for damaging property or injuring people. This is a whole week-long celebration. Roman authorities chose an enemy of the Roman people to represent the Lord of Misrule. Each community would select a victim who they forced to indulge in food and other physical pleasures throughout the week. At the festival's conclusion, on December 25th, Roman authorities then had these victims killed. They were brutally murdered at the end of this celebration. So what you've got is people sort of like a scapegoat. They had people who they would force to indulge in pleasures of food and wine and women and sex and so on for that week. And at the end of the week, they would kill them. Sort of like killing off their own sins. This is what the celebration was about. This is what Saturnalia was. So what, right? What's that have to do with Christ? It has nothing to do with Christ. Greek historian Lucian described the festival of Saturnalia as a widespread intoxication, going to house while singing naked, and rape and other sexual license. This was the celebration that went on during this season. You Christians who keep saying, let's get Christ back into Christmas. Christ was never part of Christmas. Saturnalia is what it was. Now, in the 4th century CE, AD, that is, Christianity imported the Saturnalia festival, hoping to take the pagan masses in with it. Christian leaders succeeded in converting to Christianity large numbers of pagans by promising them that they could continue to celebrate the Saturnalia as Christians. So folks, this is what you're celebrating, okay? It has nothing to do with Christ. But one thing is for sure, it has a lot to do with the Catholic Church. Along with so many other things, the Catholic Church has adopted pagan customs into their rituals, into their celebrations, and have called it Christian. It's well-known fact that there's not a single authority on the Bible, Christian or non-Christian, who believes that Jesus Christ was born on December 25th. He was born in the spring, according to most traditions. Yet, you celebrate the birth of Christ on the 25th of December. Why? Because the Catholic Church tells you to. And if you're celebrating this holiday as the birth of Christ, And what you're essentially doing is saying, I believe the Catholic Church is right. As I already mentioned, the Protestant Church, and you can look this up, it's not hard to find the true history of Christmas, especially here in this country with the Puritans. They weren't big fans of Christmas. It was against the law to celebrate Christmas for a long time here in this country. It wasn't until 1870 until Congress officially proclaimed it as a holiday. So, there's Christmas, a celebration of drunkenness, rape, and murder from the Catholics. Now, let's talk about the other major Christian holy day, Easter. Easter is actually pronounced Ishtar. Ishtar was an ancient Egyptian deity. You know what I find funny is that so often, it doesn't really happen to me, but so often you attack Lucifera for being a pagan. She's not a pagan because she accepts and recognizes that these gods exist or could exist. Doesn't make her a pagan. If she worships them, that would make her a pagan. But you folks, you are the ones who are pagans. You're the ones who are worshiping these pagan deities and then condemning her for it. You are so ignorant. You need to open your eyes and research these things for yourself, because you're sure not going to hear this stuff in church. Anyway, back to Easter. Well, the significance only that I'm going to get into with Easter, I'm not going to get into what it was originally with Ishtar. You can look that up yourself. Just type into Google Ishtar and Easter, and you'll find it for yourself. We are in the information age. There is no reason why you should be so ignorant, except that you're too lazy to do the work. Back to the point here. The point here is that Easter is, of course, again, a Catholic holiday. And it's the Catholic Church who determined when Easter is. Why isn't Easter on the same day every year? Well, I'll tell you here. Again, you'll find the references down the bottom of the screen here. All you have to do is click for yourself. In 325 AD, the Council of Nicaea established that Easter would be held on the first Sunday after the first full moon occurring on or after the vernal equinox. From that point forward, the Easter date depended on the ecclesiastical approximation of March 21st for the vernal equinox. Easter is delayed by 1 week if the full moon is on Sunday, which decreases the chances of it falling on the same day as the Jewish Passover. One thing they sure didn't want to do is have it associated with the Jews, the Catholics. The council ruling is contrary to the Quartodecimans, a group of Christians who celebrated Easter on the day of the full moon 14 days into the month. So it was in 325 AD that the Catholic Church determined how and when to celebrate Easter, Ishtar. So, if you celebrate Easter and the date that's on the calendar for Easter every year is because the Catholic Church determined through this little method that this is when Easter would be. So, again, you celebrate Christmas, Christ Mass, you celebrate Ishtar. You are celebrating things that have been designed by the Catholic Church. They didn't exist before the Catholic Church put it together. So when you celebrate these things, you might as well be saying, I'm Catholic. Now, the next one is one that I'm sure many of you are familiar with, and that is Sunday. Why is it that Christians go to church, generally most Christians go to church on Sunday and not on Saturday? Well, the Seventh-day Adventists have this one right. Sunday was chosen as a day of the sun. Again, going back to pagan tradition. You Christians are celebrating so many pagan things, and you don't recognize it, and you want to condemn everyone else for it. Now, why was it changed from Saturday to Sunday? The Council of Laodicea, a regional synod of approximately 30 clerics of Major Minor, assembled about 363 to 364 AD in Laodicea, outlawing the keeping of the Jewish Sabbath on Sunday and encouraging the rest on the Lord's Day, Sunday. Well, again, the reason why you go to church on Sunday and not Saturday is again because the Catholics changed it. Now this one's a big one. First you got your two major celebrations of the year, Easter and Christmas. Now you're talking about the day that you go to church each week. It's the first day of the week. It's not the seventh day of the week. According to my Bible, the commandment states that you're supposed to rest on the last day of the week, not on the first. So, why was it changed? Okay. Here's a statement from Dr. Gilbert Murray, professor of Greek at Oxford University. Professor at Oxford. So, he's a pretty smart guy. Now, since Mithras was the sun, the unconquered, and the sun was the royal star, the region looked for a king who could serve as a representative of Mithras upon the earth. The Roman emperor seemed to be clearly indicated as his true king. Goes back to Rome again. Mithraism was able to impose on Christianity its own sun, S-U-N, day in place of the Sabbath and the sun's birthday, December 25th. So this was from this god Mithra. So again, we have pagan tradition that has crept into your church, and you want to turn around and condemn all pagans. You are keeping more pagan tradition than most pagans are. Another historian, Dr. William Frederick, says, Gentiles were idolatrous people who worshiped the sun, so it was natural for the church to make Sunday its day of rest. The Catholic Encyclopedia, Volume 4, page 153. The church, after changing the day of rest from the Jewish Sabbath, or seventh day of the week, to the first, made the third commandment refer to Sunday as to be kept holy as the Lord's day. The church changing the day. The Catholic Church. Now, I'm not completely familiar with Seventh-day Adventists and any of those you might see this, and I may be wrong about this, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that Seventh-day Adventists believe that the Pope who changed the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday was the Antichrist. I believe that that's part of what Seventh-day Adventists say. The Catholic Mirror of September 23rd, 1894. The Catholic Church, for over 1,000 years before the existence of a Protestant, by virtue of her divine mission, changed the day from Saturday to Sunday. You see, the thing is, the Catholic Church believes that they are doing the will of God and therefore can do whatever they want to, even if it contradicts this book that you all love to thump so much. But if you keep these days, you're keeping Catholic holy days. And if you're keeping Catholic holy days, just like I mentioned earlier, if I'm bowing down to Mecca 6 times a day, what am I? Not a Christian, am I? From the Convert's Catechism of Catholic Doctrine by Reverend Peter German. Question: which is the Sabbath day? Answer: Saturday is the Sabbath day. Question: why do we observe Sunday instead of Saturday? Answer: we observe Sunday instead of Saturday because the Catholic Church in the Council of Laodicea transferred the solemnity from Saturday to Sunday. To be any clearer, do you know what I'm saying now? You have a lot of nerve condemning Catholics, most of you, when you keep all the Catholic traditions. Now, there's some of you out there who say, this doesn't apply to me. I don't keep Christmas as a celebration of Christ. I don't keep Easter. I don't go to church on Sunday. The one thing that I'm sure all of you Christians do is recognize this as the Word of God. That every word of this is true. I don't know how many times Christians have argued with me and said that every word of this is true, despite the fact that you could find countless faults in it. Every word of it is true. Well, where does the Bible come from? Where do we get our Bible? Who had the Bible comprised long before the Protestant Reformation in the 1500s? Who? Who? Do I have to tell you who? The only difference, okay. The same council of Laodicea, it was the one who first put together a comprehensive Bible. There are some differences between what Catholics believe, or is the canon, the true words of God, and what Protestants believe. Again, these references will be here for you to look for yourself. Now, the Septuagint, which was the Greek translation, was the original Bible, the Old Testament. Many Jews couldn't read Hebrew, so the original what we call the Old Testament now, when the Christians came along, was taken from the Septuagint, which was the Greek translation of what we call the Old Testament. In the 1500s, the Protestant leaders decided to organize the Old Testament, and they did it compared to how the Jews had changed it a bit from the original Septuagint. They moved the material, the Protestants that is, they moved the material that was not in the Jewish canon to what's called the Apocrypha. So the Protestant Bible just divided the books into sections, the Old Testament and the Apocrypha. So until the 1800s, the Bible had the apocryphal books, even the original King James Version, that later were dropped. So when people quote out of the Apocrypha and you want to condemn them because it's not in this book, it was not that long ago. This Bible keeps changing, and it's going to be this Bible, assuming this is 100 years from now, and assuming that people are still going to be reading this Bible, is going to be different than the Bible today. The Bible is constantly changed. So you think it is this Word of God written in stone. It's not. Not. People are changing it all the time. Okay, Catholics continued to have the Old Testament as the Septuagint, which means that there's, in the Catholic version of the Bible, there are more books than in the traditional version that I have here in front of me, this New King James. But, so the only difference between what the Catholics use as the Bible and what Protestants use as the Bible is that Catholics have a few more books. As far as the New Testament, the Catholic, Protestant, and Orthodox are identical with 27 books. This is a Catholic book. Condemn the Catholics, folks. Condemn the Catholics, and you use their book to condemn them with it. If you would just take the time to do the research, if you would just take the time to actually try to understand what it is that you believe, then you would see that you are condemning yourselves. When you condemn people who are pagans, when you condemn the Catholics, you are condemning yourself. And that's why I say that all Christians are Catholics. Now, I said that I would read out of the Bible in the end here. This is from Revelation. Revelation, by the way, was not originally part of the Bible. It was part of the Apocrypha. In Revelation chapter 17, we see a description of the whore of Babylon. Let's look at this. Chapter 17, verse 4. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, having in her hand a golden cup full of abominations and the filthiness of her fornications. And on her forehead a name was written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots, and the abominations of the earth. When a woman is used as a metaphor in the Bible, such as the bride of Christ, it is always a reference to a church. Now, I do realize that in the same chapter later, John is told that the harlot is a city. Yes, it's a city. Rome. What church is in Rome? What headquarters is in Rome that has so much power over the entire earth? The Roman Catholic Church. But the point I'm making here, for those of you who say that you're not Catholic, She is called Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots. Who do you think her daughters are? Who do you think the daughters of the harlots are? The other Christian churches. Lucifera and I, partners in this, are light bearers. We are not in darkness. You are. We are shining light for you to see. Come out of her, my children, it says in Revelation. If you Christians want to sit through all of our videos and you want to condemn us and curse us, if you want to call us names, if you want to pick on us, understand this. You started this. We are trying to teach you. We are not condemning you. We are trying to teach you. And if you want to ignore it, and if you want to condemn us, understand who you're condemning. We are agents of light. We are light bearers. And if you want to wage war on us, folks, a war is what you're going to get.